Welcome to my session. My name is Shaaron Alvares. I currently work at T-Mobile as a senior agile and DevOps transformation coach. I am also a news editor at InfoQ and an ambassador at the DevOps Institute. I live in Seattle, where I had the opportunity to work with fantastic organizations where I actually introduced value stream mapping. And this is the topic of my presentation today. I'm going to walk you through what is value stream mapping and how we can accelerate collaboration and innovation using this fantastic approach. My topic is going to cover what is value stream mapping. We will define what is value stream mapping, and we will look at some examples. We will also look at how we develop the real flow of value within an organization. Then we will look at value stream mapping in practice. So I will walk you through how we can implement a value stream mapping in your organization. And to finish, we will look at the business and organizational outcomes of value stream mapping, and I will touch on some success factors that will set you up for success. At the end of this presentation, I want you to leave with few takeaways. And the first one is understanding the human and cultural capability of value stream mapping. It's not just a technical and technology endeavor, it's very much a human practice. The second key takeaway is how to prepare for and how to run a successful value stream mapping workshop. And I want you to leave with how you can develop collaborative and prioritize transformation backlog. So let's start with defining what value stream mapping is. Value stream mapping is a practice that consists of mapping, analyzing, and measuring all the step-by-step activities involved in delivering a product and value to your end users and customers. The key outputs of this practice are three, actually. One of them is we actually develop the current state of the flow of value. The second output is the future state of the flow of value, and it's an improved state. And the third key deliverable is the transformational backlog that will help you in your digital transformation. So let's look at a traditional organization. Here you have the flow of work, activities, and value from the moment we start with an idea and until the moment we develop and we deploy that idea and product to your end users. So you can see when you look at the flow of value, we look at those arrows, we can see that the flow is not linear. It goes through different departments, different group of people, and it flows through different applications. But when we look at the optimized flow of value and your value stream, we can see that it can be streamlined. There's a lot of opportunities to streamline that flow of value. And this is what we call the value stream mapping, and it shows actually your lead time from the moment you have an idea until the moment we deploy this idea to your end users. So Mark Schwartz, author of A Seat at the Table and War and Peace and IT, wrote a fantastic quote. I interviewed him last year, and he mentioned that doing DevOps is not difficult, but to really get the full power of it, you need to make changes in how you structure your organization and how you make the workflow through your organization. In my opinion, this is a fantastic quote, and in my opinion, value stream mapping is actually the most valuable DevOps tool we can find in order to improve on our agile and DevOps transformation. And we'll see how, and we'll see why. So the first thing, it's a very, very cross-functional, collaborative practice. It requires a lot of communication across various groups and a lot of cooperation. So value stream mapping is a cross-functional, communicative and collaborative and highly cooperative practice. Now let's look at how we develop value stream mapping, and especially at value stream mapping as an organizational and cultural capability. The first step when we do value stream mapping is to identify and map all of the activities that we deliver day to day in order to deliver a product or a value to our customers. And some of the activities are, for example, some of the items we need to identify are the people and their roles, the group where they are in their organization, the step-by-step activities, the wait time as an example, the handoffs, the artifacts that we deliver. The second step is to analyze and measure these activities. So here it's a lot of analysis because we identify the waste, we look at the handoffs, in particular at the bottlenecks, and we try to understand those bottlenecks and how we can get them, how we can decrease those bottlenecks and decrease the time to the lead time. We also look at the redundancies. For example, in some organization, we tend to work on the same products in different groups. So we want to better understand that to avoid redundancies. And we also measure everything and we capture all of the data. And in the third step, we improve. So based on this analysis, we ask questions and in order to challenge the status quo, we look at problem solving together across all of the groups involved. And we do a lot of thinking and collaborative brainstorming. So you can see that during those three phases, during the first one, we map what I call the reality because we want to know how things are working. And the reality sometimes may be messy or ugly, right? But it's important to understand how we're working and what is the flow of value. In the second phase, we actually challenge the status quo. And that's not something that's easy to do when we work throughout an organization with various groups, but because we challenge the way we're working and we ask ourselves how we can get better. And in the third phase, we actually test and learn. So you can see that it's a highly collaborative practice that requires safety and trust among all the participants. So let's look at understanding the waste versus value. I talked about waste and value delivery. So before we kick off a workshop such as value stream mapping, I highly encourage you to educate and train your stakeholders in understanding what value is and what waste is and defining those. In terms of waste, we have non-value add waste. And we have the waste that's necessary and the waste that actually is not necessary. Among those wastes, we have defects, bugs, and rework. We may also have delays, handoff that we can actually streamline or eliminate. We also have over-processing and transportation, such as silos between teams and team members as well. We also have the inventory, which means we may have too much work in progress or too much features in our backlog. So it's important to educate on what that waste is and how we can get better at eliminating that waste. On the value add activities, we have all the activities involved in development, in developing your product, and in market research on the product management side, developing the product backlog, developing spike and technology spikes, and developing the planning phase, the build. All the activities that we do towards building the product are actually value add activities. The other thing that's really important before we kick off such an initiative is to understand the common value stream mapping challenges and resistance. Some of them are organizational, some of them are cultural, and some are simply due to the large scale of this initiative. As I mentioned, we often look at how the flow go through multiple groups, multiple divisions. So on the organizational challenges, we have the hierarchy of an organization, which we touched on. We also have the fact that it could be new investments. When we look at value stream mapping, we want to make new investments in technology, and that requires a lot of work with our leadership and different ways of looking at our investments as well. It requires to look at new processes and new tools, and also at automation, which is not always a common practice in organization. So we may face resistance as we explore all of those practices. On the cultural side, it's really, really new ways of working and collaborating together. As you can see, we also challenge the status quo. So it may require us to challenge our leadership as well. And it requires to have a strong alignment across all of the leadership to initiate such an endeavor. And on the large scale, some of the challenges I saw and you may face, and that's the reason why it's important to be aware of those. It's the facilitation and the coordination of such an event, and then the buy-in of all the stakeholders. It's important to get the buy-in of all the people involved in the value stream mapping and also of the leadership. And one of the aspects is also getting the buy-in of the participants, keeping the momentum going. So if you understand all of those challenges and if you are prepared to face the resistance, you'll be better prepared when you run a value stream mapping workshop. Now let's look at the value stream mapping in practice. Here we can see that we have various phases. We have actually 6 phases. The first 2 are dedicated to planning. So the first one is pre-planning. And it's really important to do some pre-planning before you get into your core stakeholders when you want to introduce value stream mapping in your organization. So during that phase, you want to meet with some of your colleagues who are very interested in the idea, who support your idea and support the value stream mapping exercise. And during the next phase, you actually meet with your core stakeholders, all the stakeholders that are going to be involved in preparing for value stream mapping. And during the next phase, it's the phase where you actually identify all the flow of value, which are the current activities. The next phase is when you identify the improved state. So this is when you analyze all the bottlenecks and the delays, and you actually look at ways for improving those delays and bottlenecks. And in the 5th phase, you can see that it's the transformational backlog and execution plan. So during that phase, we develop a transformational backlog that we will roll out in the next few months in order to act on all the improvements we have identified. And then the last phase is ongoing because it's actually the execution of the transformational backlog and plan. You can see that all the phases feed into each other's, and some of them are iterative. The last 3 phases are iterative because as you roll out your transformational backlog, you go back to the future state and you go back to the execution and the transformational plan as well. So those phases are highly iterative. During the pre-planning phase, we recruit our core team of champions. It is really important to recruit champions because you don't want to go in front of your key business stakeholders and technology stakeholders without being well prepared, without having a team of champions, and without having a strong business case for introducing value stream mapping. It's also a really big workshop to organize, so it's important to recruit champions and change agents that will make this endeavor very successful. So during that pre-planning phase, we onboard, and to get a strong buy-in for the key stakeholders, we do a value stream mapping assessment and we develop the business case. Some of the outcomes are going to be the draft, the goal and purpose of value stream, the expected business and organizational benefits, and also a training strategy. In the planning phase, we develop the value stream mapping, shared outcomes and goals with the key stakeholders. We also engage and recruit and train the leaders. That's really important because we want their buy-in. So it's important for them to understand the business case for value stream mapping. And then we develop the logistic plan. It's a really large workshop, so it's important to spend some time developing that logistic plan. And then we run some light simulation to help with the readiness. During that phase, we actually invite all the planning core team, and we onboard for the onboarding activities. We actually onboard all of the stakeholders that are going to be part of that value stream mapping workshop. That could be the program and the project managers, the managers, the business stakeholders, and of course your development team. Some of the outcome of this planning phase are the business case for value stream mapping, the key flow matrix, because we're going to measure throughout this exercise. So it's important to have a list of the key flow matrix that you want to measure in alignment with your leadership and strategy. And you will have a training content for your key participants and leaders, and you will complete your value stream mapping logistic plan. Here is a sample training plan. As you can see, we have a lot of topics, but it's important to clearly identify those topics and train and educate your stakeholders for a strong buy-in. The more educated and trained they are, the more successful this initiative will be. So you can train on what is value stream management, what is value stream mapping, the return on investment of value stream mapping, and the various scale of value stream mapping, and give examples. And then you can also train on case studies and real life examples. Let's look at the current and desired states mapping. In the current states, we map the current state of value flow. In that phase, we identify all of the activities step by step, and we want to be as granular as possible. So we identify the wait time, the handoffs, the artifacts that we develop, the status reports. We also look at our technology, our CI/CD pipeline and infrastructure, our tools, how they integrate, and the flow of the tools. The outcomes of that phase are going to be a current state map of your value flow. Any notes that you took during the workshop, it's important to take as many notes as possible, and a readout summary for your leadership. During the desired state, we analyze all of that data, and especially the data around the waste, and we look at opportunities to improve that waste and that lead time. So we look at opportunities in terms of where are the bottlenecks, where are the inefficiencies, where are the handoff, and we capture all of that data, and we identify areas where we can improve all of that, and we do that very collaboratively. And some of the outcomes of that phase, the key outcome is actually an improved and streamlined desired state map. And you also will develop an improved collaboration culture, because you remember you have a lot of various groups working together and a lot of various teams working together. So it will increase your culture of collaboration, communication, and cooperation. During the transformation plan and execution plan, the first thing to do is to create a collaborative and cross-functional prioritized backlog. The next thing is to create the implementation plan that you will use to execute on your transformation plan and on your transformational backlog. So the output are going to be a readout for your leaders, the lessons learned, and also very granular plan showing all the activities that will need to be done in order to deliver on that transformational plan. Here we have a value stream map sample. You can see that there's a lot of activities, a lot of nodes, a lot of arrows showing how the workflow, and a lot of nodes showing where we can have areas of improvements. This is a sample, actually. There's a lot of different value stream maps. Some are operational, some are strictly limited to the SDLC framework, so the software lifecycle. Here we have a development value stream map. You can see on the top, we have all the SDLC phases outlined. Below, we have the wasteful activities. And below, we have the value-driven activities. And then we have all the measurement of those activities in terms of lead time. So you can see as we do value stream mapping and as we introduce such an initiative in an organization, we are called to move away from more traditional ways of working to actually changing the way we are collaborating, even thinking together. And this is really critical to drive innovation. If we want to become a more innovative organization, we have to spend more time collaborating, breaking down silos, and challenging the status quo. So this initiative calls us to move away from a culture of fear, mistakes, and blame to acknowledging, on the contrary, to acknowledging the gaps in processes and the opportunities. We also move away from an organizational culture of fit where we actually accept the status quo, but we challenge the status quo and we look at new ways of thinking, new patterns. We also move away from silos, so and what's best for me or for my team, but we look at the bigger picture and we look at cross-organizational opportunities to improve. We also move away, for example, from a culture of hierarchy and followers, and we want everybody to feel that they have an opportunity to lead, and we want to foster a culture where everyone is empowered to share ideas, propose opportunities, and even make decisions. So you can see that it's a really difficult initiative that requires a lot of organizational, cultural, and behavioral change. So if we look at the business and organizational outcomes, we can see that there are various benefits. Some are related to business and the technology. Some are more related to the culture and organization, and some are directly related to the team and the workforce. Under the business benefits, the key benefit is we deliver a shared business, prioritized, and improvement backlog. So this is really important because it's a backlog, it's a transformational backlog that we develop between the business and technology. It's not just a technology improvement backlog. And it informs thoughtful technology investment. So we are able to invest in technology in a more rational manner because we can see where the most important improvements are. It also provide more time to the developers to work on innovation because we streamline processes and tools as well, and it gives development team more time to work on features and on innovation. On the organizational and cultural benefits, we saw that it contributes to breaking down the organizational silos and bringing teams from different functions to work together. So it drives a greater engagement across different levels of the organization, and it really connects people. For the teams and the individuals, it really improves their productivity because they understand that it's important to focus on value-driven activities and look for opportunities to eliminate the waste. They become more productive and they have more time for innovation. The teams feel empowered and they feel that they have a say in the transformational roadmap. So they are more engaged. And it's also an opportunity to upskill our development teams or DevOps teams because as we look at automation's opportunity, we also provide them with training in automation. We saw that there are great benefits to introducing value stream mapping into your organization. But in order to be successful, we saw that it's also a very intense endeavor. So in order to be successful, it's important to understand the foundation of value stream mapping. It is a cultural, human, and organizational endeavor. It's not just a technology practice. So that's really important. And then it's also important to not underestimate the importance of training and educating all of the stakeholders, and in particular on the concept of waste and behavioral change. It's going to set you up for success to do a robust pre-planning and planning sessions because you want it to be a great experience for all your stakeholders. So don't underestimate the importance of pre-planning and planning. And then it's also really important to pause and to ask the business and technology to understand that they will have to slow down before they can speed up. So one more thing we talked about, it's not just impacting individuals or teams, it's really impacting the entire organization. So keep system thinking in mind and optimize with the big picture in mind. And align your measures on the business strategy and business outcomes. So we saw that there are great benefits for introducing value stream mapping in an organization. It helps to reduce the lead time from the moment you have an idea until the moment you deploy this idea to your end users. It helps eliminate the silos within an organization, and it helps drive innovation because you streamline your processes and your developers have more time to dedicate to innovation. Thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope you have a lot of information that will allow you to introduce value stream mapping in your organization.